doing, man? Thank you, Jack. Oh, upgrading. More people.
Toss your drink into that bottle, please. You got one?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm always
You don't got a bet? No.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
No?
They finish here.
All right. As I mentioned, everybody's fair game up here for the first 20 minutes, but the student athletes are only here for 20 minutes. So as much as possible, please direct your questions specifically to them, and we'll get started. Far left on the third row.
Myron Metcalf, ESPN. For Jaden and Jeremy, Tom obviously talks a lot about family and former players, the way they talk about your program, they come around the program. How does that help you all as players, that former guys stay so connected to the current team?
It helps a lot. I mean, I feel like that was really one of the biggest reasons that all of us are here, just the family atmosphere that we have. The alumni always come and reach out to us, whether it's text or in person, just giving us words of encouragement, and I feel like that motivates us during the season.
I definitely say it was big for me just coming here in this process. I still remember to this day, Cassius Winston, he called me and he was just talking about the program and what's it about. So just stuff that stick out. Talked to Draymond before I came here, and still to this day, they're still around, still come out, still support. So it's just a family.
Down front here on the aisle.
Christy Werner-Scott, Big Ten Network. Jace, this is for you. Defensively, Auburn yesterday had to contend with two inside players who were averaging a lot of points and rebounds, but for you guys, 6 of your top 7 players are perimeter players. How are you anticipating their defense to change in terms of what actions they're going to try to disrupt?
Most definitely. I think a lot of the guards are going to try to put pressure on us. Just watching from the Ole Miss game, I think they will probably try to pressure us, try to be aggressive with us. And I'm just ready for their defense to change to a lot guard mindset, in my opinion. So I think they're just going to try to throw different guys at us. But we got 6, 7 guards that can really do a lot.
Let's go on the left here on the fourth row.
Andrew Schroeder, USA Today. Question for Chase. You've been matching up against Tahad Pettiford, you said this week, since middle school, but similar to you, he's also left-handed, which could present some additional challenges when you're guarding. What do you anticipate, additional challenges this week in defending him from the kind of an opposite angle that you may be used to?
It's pretty difficult. I mean, he can go both ways really well, especially with that right hand. I feel like he's really solid with his right hand, so he's kind of ambidextrous in a way. So we got to, lock in, watch a lot of film just on his favorite things that he likes to do. I mean, that step back is one of his favorite things that we kind of keyed in on. But, we just got to find different areas and ways we can stop him.
Let's go fourth row on the right-hand side here.
Thomas Cobb with State News. For Jaden, you've guarded a lot of elite scorers in your career here. I'm wondering, how can you prepare, for a team that's this deep across the board defensively?
Yeah, I mean, it's a quick turnaround. Just watch a lot of film, trusting our coaching staff that they're going to put a game plan together, and then really just be ready to go out there, give max effort and energy, and lock in.
We've got a couple on the left over here. Fourth row on the left.
Chris Solari, Detroit Free Press. Is for Jeremy. You obviously are an emotional point guard, and it's been an emotional year or so for you. I'm wondering what this moment feels like to you to get to the point where you're at the Elite Eight, but also the chance to play for a Final Four after everything you've gone through.
This is special, You got to thank God and just grateful for this opportunity. A year ago, I was rehabbing, getting right, and hoping and praying for moments like this. So just to have a great group of guys and a great coaching staff and being able to do something special this year, I couldn't ask for nothing more.
Back row on the left.
Andrew Kahn, MLive.com. For any of the players, you're the last Big Ten team left in this tournament. Does that matter to you at all? Do you have conference pride like the SEC teams seem to?
I wouldn't say it matters. We wanted to see all the Big Ten teams do good, obviously, same conference. But it's just great that we're still standing and, we got a goal to do.
Let's take one more answer from one of you guys.
It like kind of is a privilege to be the last Big Ten team, representing that conference, and then just going out there and then trying to do big things, and then yeah.
Front row here.
Robbie LaStella, Bracketeer.org. My question's for Tom. I want to ask about your matchup in 2010 against Bruce Pearl. You guys won that game on free throws, obviously, but is there any traits you see from that team that you also see in this team to allow them to pull out close games there in the end?
Boy, that's 15 years ago, but I do remember the game. It was, it was an important game, as you know, and when you get to the second round or second weekend, all those games are more and more important. But I think he's got different players. I've got different players. I think he probably coaches a little different. I probably coach a little different. I don't know if there's a lot you can get out of it except what you just said. Free throws are going to be important. It's one of our special teams things. We kind of had dipped a little bit for a while. In the last couple games, we're shooting better from the line again. And last night, there's no question it helped win us the game. So all those special team things, out of bounds plays, free throws, free throw blockouts, they matter. And I think they mattered back then. We had a couple big plays that I remember, and they matter now. So those things are the same.
Far left, third row.
Myron Metcalf, ESPN. For Jace, in college basketball history, there aren't that many high-level players who have sons that are high-level players at the same school. How have you handled just the weight of that and the pressure attached to that at Michigan State?
Definitely try to come in, try to play as confident as I can. When I first came here, my mindset was we're two totally different players, so there's not as much pressure on me to go out there and try to do things that he did, because I know I can't jump 40 feet in the air. So for me,
You're right.
So for me, just go out there, play with as much fun, play with joy, and just go out there and have fun.
Down front, first row.
Christy Winter-Scott, Big Ten Network. Coach Izzo, this is for you. With their trifecta, if you will, of scores that combined for 62 points yesterday, Broome, Jones, and Pettiford, what defensive challenges do they pose with how they were able to manufacture that level of offense?
Yeah, I mean, they're all different, of course, but Broome is an incredible player, but the other two guys can make shots, and they can make shots from a lot of different places, and to get 62 other points, these guys are going to be challenged a little bit. We're going to have to do some different things with Broome because he scores it in so many different ways, and we got a couple different things we'd like to do with him. But the other ones are just defend from long range, short range. They can put it on the floor. They can shoot it from the logo. We're just going to have to try to make sure we contain them. We're not going to stop them, but we're going to contain them. And if we can do that, we can get some rebounds, we can run, and I think that is a big part of our game too.
On the right, on the fourth row.
Thomas Cobb with the State News for Cohen. I'm wondering, with last night being your first career start in your hometown in the Sweet 16, what kind of lessons did that teach you heading into the bigger stage?
Yeah, I think I had a lot of excitement going into that, and I didn't really play how I wanted to the first half. So, just staying with it, listen to my teammates, staying with it. They helped me a lot through that. So, yeah, just staying with it, listen to my teammates, and just keep having fun, Even though you might not be playing as good as you want to, you still got to stay locked in and be ready when the opportunity comes.
Third row on the far left.
Myron Metcalf, ESPN again. Tom, Bruce said Michigan State can't play the, quote, underdog role because you're in the Kansas, Kentucky, Duke level, and Auburn hasn't historically been there. So I want to know your response to that. And then he also mentioned that the SEC's recent success against the Big Ten has been an edge in athleticism. I wanted to know your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, every team's different, and Bruce has done a hell of a job at a couple different SEC schools, Tennessee and, of course, Auburn. And, I'm just grateful for who I have and what I have. We're different teams in a lot of different ways. We're similar teams in a lot of different ways. But I don't know what's an underdog. You get to this point, and there are no underdogs. If he wants to make us a favorite, I'm cool with that. If he wants to make us an underdog, I've been in that role before too. I think that's the advantage of being where I've been. And, we've been a 1 seed and got to a Final Four, and we've been a 7 seed and got to a Final Four. So I don't know if the seed matters. I don't know if the underdog matters. I think the players matter and how they play the game. Coaches get credit. The players play the game. And So I look at it as if we win, I'll take the credit. If we lose, I'll blame the players. You know, that's what good coaches do.
Down front here on the first row.
Robbie LaSalle, My question's for Jace. Building off the earlier question about your matchups with Tahad, thinking back on that when you guys were on the AAU circuits, what's that feeling like now matching up in the Elite Eight? Is it kind of surreal to think back and be like, wow, we were on the AAU and now we're here?
Oh, definitely. When you get to play guys you've grown up with and just played at AAU circuits, camps, it's super fun, get to play them at the highest level. So just to have that matchup in the Elite Eight, it's special.
Down front here on the left.
Christy Winter-Scott, Big Ten Network. Jaden, this is for you. With regards to being a senior on this team, a leader coming into this game, outside of the schematics and the tactical side of basketball, what is it going to take for you to kind of be that leader in the emotional way for the team to understand what it's going to take to start tomorrow's game the way you finished in that surge of momentum in yesterday's game?
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel like it's just gonna take full focus, full effort from the tip. Like I said, I'm a senior. It's my last go around, so I'm trying to extend my season, and that's really the only thing that's on my mind, and trying to help my brothers do that as well.
We'll stay on the front row, but the far left.
Yeah, Bob Winowski, Detroit News. Maybe for Jace and Jeremy. You guys like to play at a fast pace. Some people don't even realize that. And Auburn is frenetic all over the place. It's a little bit daunting, but it is also enjoyable. You guys look forward to that type of a game?
Definitely. I think when we get out running, Jeremy's pushing the ball at the speed that he pushes it at, it's really fun for us because it gives us easy transition shots. We can get easy buckets inside, driving kicks. So when you play a team like Auburn who also likes to run, you just got to make sure you stay poised when you're doing those things because you want the game to get hectic.
Jeremy?
I'd definitely say, the good thing that they play fast-paced and good thing that we play fast-paced, kind of be an up-and-down game. And we're able to get open transition shots and layups and dunks. But also at the same time, we got to make sure we sprint back and not give up them open shots and dunks, too. So just really trying to capitalize on one side and stop their side.
Far left, third row.
Myron Metcalf, ESPN again for Cohen. How is just the physical style in the Big Ten help prepare this team for the run that you all are on right now?
Yeah, especially, for me, I guard the perimeter and I go inside too. So just be able to have both sides of that, to be able to play physical and guard perimeter players, it helps a lot.
Fourth row on the aisle on the left.
Gunter Schroeder, USA Today. This question is for Coach. You mentioned you're shooting better at the line as of recently, but this is the third game in a row in the tournament that you guys have more than doubled the other team in just free throw attempts. So has getting to the line as much as possible been something you guys talk about before every game, or is it trying to just depend on the opponent?
I think it's something we talked about this summer and fall. I think in my program, I haven't done a good job of that, over the years. We haven't got to the line. I think Frankie Fiddler helped us a little bit early. He was a guy that got to the line a lot, and I think these guys picked up on some of that. And there was a lot of times where, people had made more free throws than we have shot, and now there's times that we have, made more free throws than other people have even shot. So it has definitely helped us. We said we had to be a good free throw shooting team for most of the year. We were in the 80s. Yeah. And these guys have done a great job of getting fouled and then converting those free throws. And that's what wins you game down the stretch, like the ones Trey hit down the stretch were critical. And Jace and Jeremy, they all hit. Jaden hit a couple. Cohen hit some early. You got to give them credit because, some of them weren't good free throw shooters, and they made themselves. I didn't do that. They did it, and that's one of the things I really appreciate about the team.
We've got 5 more minutes before I dismiss the student athletes. Do we have any more questions for them? No. Gentlemen, you guys can go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They're going to head to the breakout rooms in the loading dock area. Okay, so we've got questions for Coach now, and we'll go to the far left on the fourth row.
Carlos Menard, Detroit Free Press. Tom, getting back a little bit to the underdog thing, Bruce said not only was he not going to let you play the undercard role, but he said they're the underdogs with all the talent, top overall seed. Do you buy that? Is it Bruce Pearl coaching mind games? Where do you stand on that?
Well, I remember Jed Heathcote used a term. Kevin Willis was in our locker room. In my first year, I was a GA. And I remember him saying one day, Kevin, I've been conned by the very best in the world, so don't try it. You know, I think Kevin was trying to get out of why he didn't go to a class or something, you know. And listen, Bruce and I are friends. We've been friends since he was at Iowa. He's done an incredible job there. Like I said, I don't care where I am. I've been through so many of these. You know, I've been a 2 seed that's been beaten by a 15. I've been a 1 seed that hasn't gotten out of the first weekend, you know. So I don't buy any of that stuff. But if it makes him feel better, I'll be the favorite. I'm cool with that. You know, whatever they want me to be, I'll be. But the game will be won by the players on the, not the bettors, not the media, no insult, not even the coaches. The game will be won by the players who play the game.
2 questions on the right. Let's go to the back row first.
Graham Couch, Lansing State Journal. I want to ask you about Carson and Jackson and just sort of, you know, when you brought those guys in a couple years ago, wide-eyed freshmen, you've stayed with them to let them develop, not brought in somebody to recruit over them. And can you speak to that decision a little bit and to where they are now? And is this what you sort of saw for them a couple years ago?
Well, they have made great progress. Sometimes I wish they'd make even more progress, but some of that is my doings too. You know, I got an obligation to make players better. I mean, that is our job. And I think we've done it somewhat, and they have to buy in. We have to do our job. But I think this run this year has really helped them understand that getting better, you know, one of the things I think we're still getting better. You know, we have not played our best game yet. We have not been as consistent as I would like to be in these last 4 or 5 games as far as from one half to another. But we have learned how to win, and we've learned how to win in different ways with different players. And those guys that develop within your program usually are playing for a little bit more. You know, they have some ownership. And that's what I greatly appreciate, you know. And, I mean, we still have some young guys. We have some middle-aged guys. We have a few older guys. You know, in fact, Bruce's team is very mature. I won't say old. I'd prefer people call me mature instead of old, so I'll do the same thing for the 23, 4-year-olds. But I really believe that that those guys have kind of withstood the process. I'll never forget Draymond said he kissed the Spartan head because he survived the 4-year process. And that's pretty good. I mean, that's life lessons, and I still got those guys for another year, so they're growing, they're getting better, and I think they could be in the mood to take another big jump like he did and some other guys that maybe took a little longer than some people would like. But those guys, I wouldn't trade them. I wouldn't trade them.
Down on the right, second row, Pat.
Hey, Tom. Pat Forty from Sports Illustrated. Go back to 1999. I think we're in St. Louis for the regional final there against Kentucky. Is the excitement level the same from 1999 to 2025, and is the preparation the same? Not necessarily the actual X's and O's, but the method.
You know, that's a great question. It's one of my favorite ones because I think we think so many things are different, and there are different things in our profession right now, but the meat and potatoes of things are the same. You know, I'll never forget we started with our 20-minute prep before dinner, after dinner, before breakfast, after dinner. That was the first time in '97 when we played Princeton, you know, and then or '98. Then we just used that. That's been the same. You still got to defend, rebound, and run. That's been the same. You have to talk to players differently. You have to make adjustments. You got more people. But when it gets down to that locker room before the game, it's all the same. And you know, thank God I had the Mateen Cleaveses of the world back then. I had Antonio Smith that almost killed me in the huddle because we were down 17-4 to Kentucky. And once in a while I have a guy that does that now, so that's the same too. It's awesome.
Let's go to the left side here for the next few.
Myron Metcalf, ESPN. Tom, you take a lot of pride in connecting generations of Spartans. Former players come back to East Lansing, they talk to your guys. How important has that been to your ongoing success? And in this new turbulent climate, How difficult will it be for teams to recreate that going forward?
Yeah, I don't know that, but I just know this. It is the most important thing for me. Because you got to understand that if, like Jason Richardson, I mean, none of us like anybody more than our kids. No insult to wives or parents now and this and that. Your kids are the most important thing you have. And when you have former players that feel like their experience here was good enough that they'll send their kids, that's pretty awesome. But like last night, it was funny because Smitty brought in a bunch of guys and Kevin Willis was here. And he gets back once in a while. He's got a son who lives in Grand Rapids. But my guys were just enamored by how big, strong, and in shape he still looks, and he's 60 years old or whatever, And you know what I enjoyed? I watched Kevin act like a 20-year-old. He was picking players up. He was laughing with them. He felt so connected. He picked me up, He just got caught up in the fever. And I think if we lose that, to me, that'll be a shame. I don't know how you consistently do it if you move in parts, but I guess I'll learn to do that like I've learned to do everything else. I'm sure as hell not going to worry about it now, but those former players, and there are going to be a slew of them here tomorrow, they can speak to the current players differently. They can tell them, even the guys on my staff, I got Austin and TK, I had DJ and Monty, guys that have been to a Final Four, guys that have been to Elite Eights, both as a player and as a coach. That helps me stay connected as people think you get older and lose connections with your players. Those guys that are saying almost the same things, I mean, hell, when Draymond calls, he says it, or Mateen, those guys say it worse than I do, And I love that. I really do.
Stay on the left on the back row.
So much has been made of the Big Ten's national title drought, but do you take pride in being the last Big Ten team standing? And then if you don't mind, a second unrelated would be about Zapala, who didn't play last night. Do you expect him to be back in the starting lineup or at least the rotation?
I don't take pride in it. I take blame for it. I mean, I've been there 7 other times and haven't won it. So I'm part of the problem. But I don't think it's a problem. This I've heard some of you even write articles and speak about it. It really comes down to matchups sometimes. Everybody talks about style of play. I'm gonna tell you something. The Big Ten's supposed to be a physical league. We were like 3 yards in a cloud of dust because of Woody Hayes and Bo Schembechler, and that's what we were. Last night we were in a fist fight that we didn't win so good. And we're supposed to be this big, tough team, and so I'm proud of the teams in the Big Ten. I watched the end of the Purdue game, and I watched the Maryland game, and I watched a lot of games that Big Ten teams are in. I watched Michigan play these guys last night, and I think bother me, pride in it. If somebody breaks that record that's a good record to be broken. And so I would have been hoping a lot of the Big Ten teams would, and now we're left to carry the flag and hopefully change that, but we'll see what happens. But I really don't look at it like some people, like the Big Ten's bad or some other conferences so good just because they win a national championship. I think I've had 3 teams that were better, not than my national championship team, but better than a lot of my Final Four teams that didn't make it out of the first weekend or the second. So it is what it is. As far as Zapala and Booker now, I hadn't played in a couple, but I expect to play both of them tomorrow. Zapala's thing was more about just the matchups that we had because of the personnel of the other team, which is going to happen sometimes.
Stay on the back row on the left.
Hey, Tom, Sean Windsor, Detroit Free Press. Obviously, you've been at this stage a lot over a lot of years. You're mature, as you said,
or old, either way.
and I know there's always urgency. You get to this moment, but does this feel different in any way than any of the others because you've been doing this for so long? Does it feel more, is there more of a sense of urgency?
If I translate that, it's, do you feel more urgency because you might not have that many more chances? Well, let me tell you how I feel about that. You're laughing because you're thinking the same damn thing. But you guys aren't not in much different boats either, by the way. You know, you don't get to do your job forever either. But, you know, Judd Heathcote taught me something in 1986. We were playing Kansas in the famous clock game. And we did an unbelievable job against Kansas. They had Danny Manning. They were really good. And we had Scott Skiles. We were good, but we weren't that good. And we led the whole game and missed some free throws down the stretch and lost the game. We went into the locker room. And I said, you know, we're losing Scott and a couple other guys, but Judd wasn't happy at all. And I said to myself, wow, you know, kind of like, forgive me, but what a jerk, you know? I mean, we played our butt off. We played as good as we could play. I mean, we took a great team right to the wire, went to overtime. And so later on, I asked him, you know, Coach, you know, didn't you think we played very good? And he says, you don't understand. Those guys, some of them will never get that opportunity again. And who says anybody will? You know, my good friend Gene Cady, I think, is one of the greatest coaches ever to coach. I've never been to a Final Four, and every time I get to one, I feel almost guilty because there's so many good coaches, John Chaney, you know. So I don't look at it my age or the end of my career or the beginning of my career. There's time. Look at, I won the national championship 5 years in. 25 years later, haven't won another one. So every time I play, I don't look at my end is near. I look at I have an opportunity to do something that you may never get another opportunity to do again. And that's kind of the way I approach it. And so I don't feel any pressure that, you know, wow, you know, you might not get, the pressure is you might not get another chance. Having nothing to do with how old you are or anything else, just fact of life. You might not get another chance.
Let's stay on the left at fourth row.
Yeah, hey Tom, Tony Garcia, Detroit Free Press. The 8 remaining teams in this tournament are the top 8 teams in Ken Pom. I know you've had thoughts about the portal, or the urinal as you call it, redistributing talent. I wonder if you think maybe that speaks to that at all, but more specifically to your program. You said you wanted to get back to this point last year. How proud of you are of the fact that you are in that group?
I'm really proud of these players. I mean, they've done a lot more than a lot of people know. I mean, you ask them to sacrifice a little bit, you know. It's not like somebody should have played a bunch more minutes, but 3-4 minutes here or there, they sacrificed. They sacrificed that there's been 9 different leading scorers on our team. I mean, that just doesn't normally happen. But, you know, as you go through the year and you think about, and people get upset about, well, he didn't get to play as much as his average isn't quite as high as this, as that. Just depends what's important, because we're still playing, which means we're relevant. People are talking about our guys, so that exposure helps them. And I really believe that these kids have learned how to sacrifice, and some of them had to wait their turn a little bit. And some of them will play at the next level maybe. And when they get there, they're going to probably wait their turn again. They're probably going to sacrifice again. And that's what I love about what I do. I think these are all life lessons. I think this is the way it's going to be. I think sometimes right now we're leaning towards Disneyland, and the real world's not Disneyland. So I am proud of every one of them. I mean, every one of them. I mean, Frankie Fiddler was starting at the beginning of the year. He played 8 minutes in some games later on, you know. Zapala, as you said, didn't play a minute yesterday. Wasn't all his fault. It was a different concept in sports. You know, we had to do whatever we could do to win a game. And to me, that seems like a pretty good concept, because Zapala is still going to benefit. He didn't play last night. He'll play tomorrow. But more importantly, we're still playing. He's still relevant. And that's what I think is cool. There's a lot of guys that haven't played A lot of good players didn't even make the NCAA tournament. There were some good players didn't even make the Big Ten tournament. So this has been a cool experience for me too. We said we're going to be a little different, do it a little different way. We have. The only way it works, your staff and your players buy in. And our players bought in better than most older adults do. So I'm proud of them.
Two questions here on the right, third row, far right.
Matt Merrifield, Impact and FM. Coach, you've been in this spot before, playing the #1 overall seed in the Elite Eight twice before, 2009 and 2019. And I just want to know, I know you've been prepping for Auburn a little bit coming up to before this week, but what does it take in this 48 hours leading up to the game from you, your staff, and your players to come out and actually win the game on Sunday?
Well, I think it takes focus. It takes mentally getting past being fatigued. Physical fatigue you can get through, but mental fatigue gets a little harder, and there's a lot going on right now, and I think it's going to take that, and then the little things. It's not going to be the big things. I mean, you're going to make shots, you're going to miss shots, but like last night, we blew a free throw line cutout. That's sacred in our place. We don't want to do that. We gave up a 3 and an out of bounds play. We don't want to do that. There's certain things that we really try to steal points. And I think to beat a team is, I guess they're not, I guess Bruce doesn't think they're that talented, but I do. So to beat a team that got guys that can shoot it from everywhere and got maybe the National Player of the Year on their team, we're going to have to do all the little things, right? We're going to have to get the loose balls. We're going to have to capitalize on free throw shooting. We're going to have to capitalize on our out-of-bounds plays and hope they don't capitalize on theirs. The shots and the defense, I think both teams will do well. It'll be the little things that I think will win or lose the game for you.
Back row on the right.
Bill Troche, Sporting News. John Shire said yesterday that this round is the hardest to win because you're playing a team that's won 3 in a row, and you are on the doorstep of a great accomplishment. So I just wanted to ask you, do you agree with that assessment? Does this round feel different?
Well, it's more exciting. The press conferences are longer. The attention, there's 8 teams left. And that attention is awesome. It's a privilege. It's an honor. And it's something that I talk to my guys about since we started the tournament, and every round you go. Appreciate where you are and take advantage of where you are, And I don't know, in 18, I think Jaron Jackson, Miles Bridges were in Detroit, and we won 30-some games, and we lost to Syracuse, and I guess it was an upset. And, that was in the second game. I didn't even get to the second weekend. So when you get in this tournament, after interviewing for a couple of NBA jobs one time, I asked some former NBA players of mine, what is different about the NBA? And I asked some other people, and they said, the greatest thing is the playoffs. They're best of 7. You can afford to have one bad game and still survive. We can't. And so John's right, and he's done a hell of a job. I love what he stands for. But if he would have lost the opener, that would have been the hardest. If he lost the second game, that would have been the hardest, Every game you play when it's one and done time is the hardest. Is there more pressure? Is there better teams? Hell, I've been in it where the reason I got to a Final Four was somebody got upset. So maybe the third game, I think the year we beat Tennessee, I think we played Northern Iowa in the Sweet 16 because they upset Kansas. I think when we got to 1 and 05, we played Vermont in the second game because Syracuse, who was rated a lot higher. Pat, you know them all, man. You're old. But anyway, so sometimes I say you got to be lucky. Sometimes, most of the time, you got to be good. But there is more excitement right now, when we won last night, the only thing I could think about was we have 1 game left. National championships are great, and you do dream of those. But we've made such a big deal of what a Final Four is. It's almost like get to a Final Four. sometimes I think maybe I'm wrong because I got there and then didn't finish it. But there is something about getting to a Final Four, and you say you're one game from doing that is probably, as he said, more pressure, more excitement, more fear, more everything. Yeah, it's the greatest.
Front row on the far left.
Bob Winowski, Detroit News. Tom, when you look at a team like Auburn that with its explosiveness and its athletes and its speed, and you guys don't shy away from that, but is there a danger in getting caught up in that? Like if playing their game, I know their game is like your game, but how do you counsel your players on handling what Auburn brings?
Yeah, they bring it in a lot of different ways. As you say, they can be frenetic in a way, you know, and they come at you. They have athletes. They have size. You know, they're big guards, you know, 6'2", but then it's 6'6", 6'7", 6'7". They bring in waves of people like that. I think that's one of the advantages of playing in these major conferences and playing good schedules is you get to see a lot of different people and have to develop different ways to win games. But I think for the most part, what I learned, again, early in my career playing Wisconsin and Dick Bennett, you know, we had to play him 4 times in 1 year. I was thinking about that if we would have had to play Michigan again. And the 4th time, as I'm sure Pat remembers, was in Indy, and it was for the semifinals. And I think, now I'm not positive on the score, I think it was 19-17 at halftime. Hey, it was good defense. Some of your columns are brutal. But anyway, you know, 1917, I came walking up, and an old friend of mine, Kevin O'Neill, was doing and he looks at me and says, "What was that?" And I said, "You know what, we had to do what we had to do." And then after the game, everybody, "How are you going to stay with Florida, you know?" And we beat them 90-70 or 89 or whatever it was. And I've learned early in my career that you better be able to adjust and play big, small, fast, slow, fist fight, or, you know, prom date. You know, you can do a lot of different things. And that's kind of the way I try to approach my guys. You know, we got to be prepared because we're not just trying to win the league. You're always trying to go deep into the tournament. And so I looked at it then early on, and I haven't changed much. We're not going to get caught up in what they do. I wasn't going to change Dick Bennett. He was one of the great coaches, and his teams were so tough and disciplined, and they were going to be so patient. I wasn't going to speed them up. So if I had to play Smash Mouth, I learned how to play Smash Mouth. If I had to play Racehorse, I think my team can play Racehorse. I do think my team can't shoot the 3 like his team can. And we don't have an inside player like his. But we have 10 guys that are on a mission, and the mission is to get to San Antonio, and we're going to try to make that happen.
Coach, that's all the time we have.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you tomorrow.